Hello, and thank you for listening to WRYAT, New Orleans' fifth-ranked public radio station. As always, we're broadcasting live from a prefabricated Home Depot shed located off of South Carrollton by the Popeyes.
Salutations, animal fans. Richard Cass here with another exciting and energizing episode of Nature vs. NOLA, where we take a deep dive into some of the native wildlife of the city, as well as explore the relationship between these amazing local creatures and the amazing local people of New Orleans. Today, I've brought a few animals into the studio with me from the Audubon Correctional Facility, with permission this time, but they can get cranky when ripped from their simulated environments, so let's just get things kicked off now, shall we? All right, you guys, I'm absolutely pumped to share with you our first guest today because they're so well known in our city. Heck, these little fellas are practically the mascot of the 300-plus-year-old tourist hotspot known as the French Quarter. That's right, I'm talking about none other than the quarter rat. Let's get him out of his carrying case so you can take a look, or a listen, as the case may be, at this amazing little critter close up. Not to be confused with the degenerate humans who spend way too much time in the French Quarter known as the quarter rats. The actual quarter rat is one of New Orleans' oldest and most iconic native animal species. Per their name, they can be found in and around the French Quarter or virtually anywhere in New Orleans by dumpsters. Basically anywhere there's plenty of trash people, and thus trash. This constant exposure to residents of the quarter has made them extra brave around humans. Plus, they're excellent at avoiding the light of day. Don't worry, though, just because you may not see them when the sun is up, you can rest easy knowing that they are there, thousands of them, waiting to feast on your trash. They also love to eat leftover pizza, whatever ingredients are in the dry storage areas of most restaurants, and small children that may wander astray from the beaten path of the French Quarter. One thing I love about them is their unique smell. The best way to tell if a rat is a quarter rat is the scent, because they smell exactly like the piss-washed streets of the French Quarter. Let's take a whiff. Oh, awesome. Cool. Who do we have next? Yeah, this is the shit right here. If you lived in some of these more eclectic neighborhoods of New Orleans, then you are definitely familiar with these beautiful fellas. This is the urban peacock. That's right, similar to your regular run-of-the-mill peacock you may see at your local zoo, but much like the quarter rat, this species of peacock has specifically evolved and adapted to be around humans. In fact, while most birds use their calls, caw, to attract a mate, it's been recently discovered that the call of the urban peacock is used especially for annoying local residents. These guys thrive off annoying the piss out of the neighbors who just don't appreciate their majestic sounds, beautiful plumage, and its most outstanding feature, its smell. Much like their colorful tail feathers, the urban peacock generates a cornucopia of smells to help it blend in fragrance-wise with a variety of gentrified and soon-to-be gentrified neighborhoods that they just love to nest in. I'm going to take a sniff. Oh, fuck yeah! Oh, we got some fresh paint in there. Oh, good fresh paint. A tad of uncollected garbage. Oh, and a hint of gunfire smoke. Nice! Next animal! Oh, hell yeah! Next up, we have probably my favorite creature we have at our facility, a drainage canal gator. These guys are ancient because unlike the quarter rat and the urban peacock, the drainage canal gator was living in the swamplands in New Orleans before it was New Orleans. This is due to their close relation to your common river alligator because we all know a river is just a giant form of water drainage. So when humans started to make their own rivers, also known as canals, these guys slipped in and felt right at home. However, the drainage canal gator doesn't just live in the canals of New Orleans. They can also be found on Lake Pontchartrain, Bayou St. John, and just about any catch basin situation that a small child could fall into. They love to eat small children, but also other adult human appendages of any sort. Turtles, ducks, your pets, and all the vitamin-filled and mineral-rich waste of the people of New Orleans. And while you may think that they're nasty for munching on poop, these guys are great water filters that help reduce our footprint on the local environment. However, their diet of whatever we piss, shit, and throw down the drain contributes greatly to their smell, so you can imagine their aroma palette is more varied than the urban peacocks depending on what areas of the city they grew up in, and thus the type of food they ate in. Don't worry though, because I know that this gator came from a trusted source of mine at the corner of Bienville and Bourbon Street. Oh, this shit is fire as fuck! Okay, let's take some callers now! I want callers! Hello, caller! You're on Nature vs. NOLA! What's your question?
Hey, Richard, I got bit by a raccoon at City Park, and I'm worried I might have rabies. I'm feeling pretty sick and dizzy. Should I go see a doctor?
Oh, yeah. First, shut the fuck up. Calm down. Sounds like you're overdosing a bit there on park raccoon. Yep. Very common since there are virtually no regulations on raccoons. You just never know these days if you got a raccoon that's been cut with possum or fent or some other additive. Well, caller, if you can, I suggest getting your hands on some Narcan. Yep. Narcan usually does the trick for me in those situations. There should be some available at your local pharmacy or fire station. I'll tell you something. Negative stigma around Narcan is overblown, motherfucker. No pun intended.
Narcan works on rabies?
Next caller. Hello, caller 2. You're on the air. Tell me your question now.
Hey, I have this flock of, crows that, hang out in a tree right in front of my house every morning, and they squawk and crow really loudly. They wake me up every morning before the sun is even up. Is there any humane way I can, get rid of them or make them go somewhere else?
Hey, I got a question for you, caller 2. Do you have access to a large supply of peanuts?
Not that I can think of. I guess I could go buy some from Costco or something.
Sure. Do that. I got another question for you. Do you have a gun?
Do I have a gun? I live in New Orleans. Of course I have a gun. Why?
All right, caller 2, I got a couple options for you. Next time the crows are out tomorrow morning or whatever, who cares? You can either go out, guns a-blazing, pow, right at them, or you can start gifting them peanuts. Crows are incredible smart animals and pick up on cues very easily. If you go to the gun route, then they'll know that you're crazy and dangerous, and they'll want to stay away from you, but they can hold a grudge, so be careful with that. But if you give them peanuts every time they summon you, they will eventually see you as the primary food source and will treat you like the mafia boss of the crows. It's really up to you, but either way, you are now tied to the crows for life!
So I shoot them or feed them?
You got it! Do it! Next caller! Hello, caller 3, you're up! Let's go!
Hello, Richard?
Sup!
My cat went missing a couple of days ago, but I've also noticed a few coyotes are starting to roam around my neighborhood. Do you think the coyotes got my cat? And what should I do to get rid of them?
Yep, get a bigger cat. Nature's a bitch like that. But evolution being a great tool to even the playing field. You know what I mean? Clearly, old cat didn't have the chops to survive in its current environment, so get like a bobcat or tiger or some other large feline that can go toe-to-toe with those coyotes. Otherwise, you're just going to keep finding yourself in the short end of survival of the fittest stick. You hear me? All right.
Okay, what about, getting a dog or something?
Coyotes are pretty much dogs, so there's a strong chance they'll just end up being friends if you get one of those.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. So where can I get it?
Hold on. Shh. Hey, just a second, buddy. Hold on. Well, listeners, that's all the time we have this episode of Nature vs. NOLA. I hope you have enjoyed learning about all the absolutely fascinating animals we brought in the studio today. And a huge thank you to our callers for their amazing questions. You guys rock. I've been Richard Cass from Nature vs. NOLA. Stay wild, New Orleans. Ow! Yes, caller 3. What's up? You got a pen? Okay, take this number down. Take it out.
Coming next week, Pud Beer presents the annual WRYAT Beach Party 2022, live from Biloxi Beach in Mississippi and sponsored by Pud Beer. The WRYAT Beach Party is our annual live variety show concert event, performed and recorded entirely on stage on the beautiful shores of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. You're gonna die laughing at an uproarious live show featuring all of your favorite WRYAT personalities and hosted by none other than Louisiana's most popular broadcast personality, Himby Jimby. It's Jimby season.
When I saw him be Jimmy's face on that billboard when I first came into the New Orleans, I knew this city was gonna be my home. I've been a loyal fan of Himby's ever since. If it's good enough for Jimby, it's good enough for me.
Himby Jimmy's radio show gets me to work every morning and gets me home every night. I don't know where I would be without Jimby, and I hope it should never end.
Tickets have sold out, WRYAT listeners. If you screwed up and didn't get any tickets, you can still listen to a live broadcast of the show next week on the WRYAT radio station or online at WRYATradio.com. Bud Beer presents the annual WRYAT Beach Party 2022, live from Biloxi Beach in Mississippi and sponsored by Bud Beer. See you in a week.
And now for news that matters on Y'all Things Considered.
Summer is here and we're stuck in the sweaty, stagnant middle of it all. Talk about your dead heats. This is Y'all Things Considered. Greetings, listeners. You are now tuned in to Y'all Things Considered, the South's #1 news program for the petite bourgeoisie and all of their employees. As many of you are no doubt well aware, there have been no shortage of meaningful events this summer, ranging from, just take a guess, you know what happened, to, yes, that too. But our news program remains steadfast in its decision not to cover anything that could be construed as political, controversial, or news. And that's why we're plowing ahead with our 13th straight week of exclusive sports reporting. Here joining us again today is our lead sports reporter, Hank DeHonda. Welcome back, Hank.
And what an indescribable pleasure it is to be back, my fellow news correspondent.
What do you have for us from the wide world of sports today?
I haven't anything for anyone from the wide world of sports. What's most exciting is what the wide world of sports has for us all. The dizzying highs of victory, the terrifying lows of defeat, the friendships formed, the enemies made, and rivalry after rivalry after rivalry, all forged in the indomitable spirit of competition.
Wow, that's very exciting, Hank. What games did you see this week to inspire such stirring words?
Absolutely, positively none whatsoever.
You didn't go out and see any games?
No, my good man. The heat index has been rising every day, and with it, my desire not to attend any live sports, and instead stay indoors in the comfort of my own air-conditioned home.
Uh-huh. Well, while you're at home, Hank, are you watching any live sports? Keeping up with the MLB season, perhaps?
Absolutely not. For you see, a career's worth of having to witness and report on all manner of sports day in and day out for weeks, months, and years on end has rather ironically left me quite tired of the one thing I was once most passionate about: sports. So I recently decided to take a much-needed sabbatical from all things sports for the remainder of the year, and I have to say, it has so far been simply splendid.
Okay, well, Hank, since you're our sports reporter and you're not covering any more sports this year, I'm assuming that you don't have anything to report for us today, do you?
Ah, but I do, my esteemed correspondent colleague. Now freed from a schedule once dominated exclusively by runs and touchdowns and goals and misdemeanors, I have been able to partake in the myriad of other pleasures our diverse culture has to offer, such as the arts. Are you familiar with the arts, my friend?
Yes, Hank. I'm familiar with the arts.
Ah, but are you an active participant in the culture surrounding the arts? Do you frequent locales such as movie theaters, music venues, and comedy clubs?
I've been to all of those kinds of places before, Hank, if that's what you're asking.
All of them, you say? Even the comedy club?
Yes, Hank. I've been to a comedy club before. Have you?
As of last weekend, I can now say with all certainty that yes, I have also been to a comedy club. They were holding some sort of function that I'm told the comedy community refers to as an open mic night. Now, I would not have attended such an event at my own volition, as I've always found comedy itself to be something of an unserious affair, too unserious for my liking, as a matter of fact. But my fellow sports correspondent, Brian TBD, practically begged me to accompany him so that we could cover something for this week's episode. After he agreed to pay my fee, or in comedy club parlance, cover charge, to gain entry into the venue, we spent the evening at the Big Easy Comedy Condo, where a series of aspiring jesters took the stage to take a stand and a shot at the limelight of laughter, one after another, joke after joke, each of them for 5 minutes at a time, lasting from the hours of 8 p.m. Central Standard Time to 4:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what an experience it was!
So, Hank, if I'm understanding you correctly, you don't have highlights from any sports coverage for us this week, but you do have highlights from stand-up comedy coverage. You recorded at an open mic night?
That's one way to put it. The best way, in fact. For yes, that is exactly what I have. Let us proceed to listen to those highlights from an evening of nervous energy, drunken camaraderie, and attempted jocularity, and learn a little more about that thing called laughter.
Good evening, comedy fans. I'm your joke-by-joke analyst, Brian TBD, and joining me is my off-color commentator, Hank DeHonda.
Habari Zanjiani, Brian. That's Swahili for good evening, Brian.
And we're at the Big Easy Comedy Condo, New Orleans' premier destination for all kinds of comedy, except for improv. Tonight's attraction is the open mic night, wherein several amateur comedians will have the opportunity to perform their material before a live audience. After tonight, a star could be born or a dream could be dead. Any predictions, Hank?
I just hope for these aspiring comics to realize, regardless of how funny they may or may not be, that they're all worthy of our love and deserve to be taken seriously as humans in this life.
That's pretty funny, Hank.
Why funny, Brian? The comedy is yet to even begin.
But it's about to. As you can see, the cleanest and most attractive looking person here is approaching the stage, and they don't seem at all concerned with being funny in the same way all of the chain smokers outside do. Yep, this is no doubt our MC, ready to kick off the proceedings. Let's get to it. Well, folks, we're about 30 minutes and 6 comics in, and somehow the line outside of the building keeps getting longer. The line for comics, I should clarify, not the one for patrons. As to the quality of the performers themselves, the sets we've seen so far have been noticeably light on actual jokes, or at least jokes in the classical tradition, cleverly timed sentences or story constructions beginning with a setup and ending with a punchline. No fewer than 3 of the comics we've seen have used their stage time as an opportunity to process their supposed trauma, which is highly specific and sympathetic, but not exactly funny. The audience members in attendance have so far responded to the acts they've seen with what could be best described as a smattering of laughter, and most of them are beginning to drift away from their seats towards the bar.
And the backlighting underneath the bar counter has proven very useful in illuminating the bar seating, as well as tying all the various lighting accents together for the interior of this venue. Astonishing! One could even go so far as to say the lighting in here subtly evokes that of which you can find in the interior of one Carnegie Hall.
You are on a roll, Hank. Maybe you should sign up for the open mic.
I beg your pardon?
Our MC has just introduced our next comic, a young fellow by the name of Squeeze McElroy. His face is noticeably unkempt as patchy stubble litters parts of his cheeks and weak jawline, masked somewhat by the mess of long, greasy, golden hair cascading down from the top of his head. He's carrying a briefcase of some sort. He's opening it, and he's removing an acoustic guitar. Ooh, the audience did not like that one. While it would be nice to see Squeeze turn things around, one look at the crowd makes it clear. This is going to be an endurance test for everyone involved. You hate to see it.
We are over 18 comics deep now, and despite an audience response that could be charitably described as tepid, the line of performers still somehow manages to grow longer, snaking itself around the outside of the building. Currently, we're being subjected to the set of a man who could be anywhere between the ages of 32 and 47 years old, named Gene Dud. Gene's timeline of pop culture references, of which he's made several, seem to begin in 2003 and end in 2004. The audience being mostly 30-somethings, you'd think Gene would be able to better appeal to their shared generational experience, but his tired observation that the lyrics to Outkast's hit song Hey Ya are surprisingly depressing when contrasted against its upbeat melody failed to elicit more than a handful of recognition chuckles from those in attendance.
One point in Gene's favor is that the acoustics in here are, in a word, amazing! For one to perform on stage and still be able to hear themselves speak over the ceaseless noise of a crowd is a feat in and of itself. And for us to be part of that noisy crowd and still be able to hear Gene's uncertain and reedy voice with such pristine clarity is a true testament to the soundproofing integrity of this venue.
Uh-oh, in a Hail Mary decision, Gene is now reading the lyrics line by line to Outkast's Hey Ya off his phone, gesturing at each example of depression as if the audience wasn't already listening.
And we are fortunate that we shall have no difficulty listening to Gene, largely in thanks to the properties of good soundproofing that the architects and interior designers of this establishment were wise to follow, but also due to the fact that his shaky-voiced words have gone almost entirely uninterrupted by the laughter of the audience.
I am telling you, Hank, you are on fire tonight.
I don't know what would motivate you to say such a thing, but for my sake, I can only hope you're speaking in the absolute least literal of terms.
Well, it's good to have someone here who can actually make me laugh tonight, Hank. And as for Gene, it appears that... Oh, he's gone. And he didn't even receive the customary round of applause from the audience at the end of his set. That's gotta sting. We're now somewhere over 35 comics into this open mic, and if the line of comedians who are now wrapped in concentric circles around the outside of the venue is any indication, we're not even halfway done. Indeed, it's unclear if any of this club's patrons are still paying attention to the parade of comics appearing on stage before them. But it is clear that the comics appearing on stage do not seem to care about that at all, betraying a startling lack of self-awareness in addition to the startling lack of actual jokes.
One thing there has not been a lack of this evening, usable restrooms. My highest commendations to the Big Easy Comedy Condo staff for their adherence to hygienic and sanitation guidelines, as well as for providing a comfortable restroom experience for the patrons.
The current comic, James Rankle, is dispassionately cycling through what feels like a very standard set consisting mostly of quips, not jokes, quips, about drugs and masturbation. I heard some rumblings in the crowd about this material being over 5 years old and watching James Rankle robotically work his way through it. I would not be surprised if that were the case.
Mirrors and stall partitions free from incendiary or offensive graffiti, a present but not overwhelming fragrance of tea tree and mint, a welcoming charcoal and soft gray aesthetic. There is just so much to admire about a well-considered restroom.
Rankle has exited the stage, looking almost as deflated as the audience he half-heartedly attempted to entertain. The MC has returned and appears to be fired up. No easy feat for this late hour. They're now making a valiant effort not just to get the audience to pay attention again, but to be excited for the comic they're about to see. We haven't seen this kind of energy yet tonight, and the crowd is starting to take notice. Who could this next comic be?
I simply must pay another visit to the restroom. Otherwise, I will be unable to appreciate it in its totality.
A whirlwind of applause welcomes Brianne Larson to the stage, a popular comic in the New Orleans comedy community and the first female comic of the night. Brianne is known for her take no prisoners and tell it like it is feminist brand of comedy. The disparate patrons have now reassembled themselves into a proper audience, and they have practically surrounded the stage. Brianne, with hair cut short and dyed blue, and sporting a t-shirt with an AI-generated image of the Supreme Court engulfed in flames printed upon it, just introduced herself as a Republican's worst nightmare to a rousing round of applause from the audience. No one was actually laughing, mind you, but they were all clapping, and that appears to be just as good to this crowd and this comic. Wow, Brianne just said she wants to play the stock market for the sole purpose of investing in guillotines so that more can be manufactured for the inevitable revolution. Again, not really a joke and no real laughter in response, but she has whipped this once disinterested audience into a veritable frenzy. What an incredible sight to see. Her time is almost up and she's now thanking the audience, all while maintaining that she has just one more thing to say before she goes. And her parting words are... abolish the police! Unbelievable! The most thunderous round of applause yet for this comic set. You just don't see an audience this excited about comedy anymore. You can see why they'll stick it out through these lengthy open mics. Who would want to miss something like this? Hank, where were you?
Oh, I had just taken another trip to the restroom for purely aesthetic purposes. What did I miss?
Hank DeHonda, you are hilarious.
And that, my dear man, was my first dalliance with the dame they call comedy. And what a dame she or he or they was.
Well, Hank, now that you've been to an open mic show at a comedy club, is it something you'd like to go do again?
Absolutely not in the slightest. Though I did adore the actual construction and design of the venue proper, I would have more thoroughly enjoyed my experience had it not been for the main attraction, if you will, which left much to be desired.
So the only thing you didn't like about the comedy club was the comedy?
Ooh, that's correct. As stated earlier, I've never much cared for comedy as an art form. Having now seen what local comedy has to offer, I feel more validated than ever in that opinion, and I've also begun to reconsider my self-imposed sabbatical from the sports world.
You probably should, Hank, because if you're a sports reporter who's not going to report on sports, our producers may impose upon you another kind of sabbatical. A permanent sabbatical. From employment.
Ah. But can you imagine how lovely that would be? The human mind and body freed from production, yet still productive, no longer filling time with toil, but finding time fulfilling, a chance to truly live the life you are meant to lead, instead of surviving the life you are forced to follow.
It sounds great, Hank, but unfortunately every institution of power in this country is dead set on ensuring none of that will happen anytime soon, if ever. Would you instead settle for a minimum of 25 days paid leave?
I suppose that would be fine, yes.
Good man. Vote yes on unionizing next week. Okay, well that's all the time we have today. Thank you for your report, Hank. This has been Y'all Things Considered.
Y'all Things Considered is sponsored by the Big Easy Comedy Condo, where our only business is funny business. So mind your own business. That means you, investigative journalists. We already told you, we're not taking any more questions, so why do you keep asking them?
We now pause this programming for station identification and remind you that you are tuned in to New Orleans' own WRYAT Pirate Radio. Learn more about our programming online at WRYATradio.com and follow us on Instagram at WRYATradio. As always, you can listen to this and previous radio broadcasts on YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere else you download or stream podcasts. Thank you for tuning in to WRYAT New Orleans Pirate Radio.
Brought to you by the producers of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, we now return you to Lynches and Lambos Eating Lunches.
Welcome back. This is David Lynch, and you are listening to Lynches and Lambos Eating Lunches. And by Lambos, I mean the classic Italian luxury car, the Lamborghini. And by lunches, I mean a piping hot cup of black coffee and a damn good slice of crispy, gooey American cherry pie. That is damn good pie. So, if you remember, before the break, I was giving you the daily weather report for Tibet in 1642, and then I gave a graphic recounting of the first time my wife engaged in childbirth. Now, with the perfunctories of the usual radio show out of the way, it's time to get to the main attraction of this program, which is me, David Lynch, interviewing someone of great import. Today, as always, that person happens to be acclaimed movie and TV director, David Lynch. Good morning, David.
Good morning to you, David.
I see you too are in a Lambo.
Yes, I love my Lambo limitlessly.
That's legitimate. And what is your lunch?
Like you, I am drinking a scalding hot cup of black coffee.
Delicious.
And to eat, I brought with me a log covered in bees.
A lovely log to liberally lap on, Mr. Lynch.
A leisurely lunch indeed.
So, tell me, it seems that you and I are the same person.
Yes, we are both largely Lynches and likewise lunching locally, which is illogical.
I agree. Do you wish to explain why you think this impossible thing is happening?
No!
Me neither!
Good morning!
Look! Another Lynch lingers!
And in a Lambo! This lineup of Lynches is legendary!
I am enlivened and liberated by this load of Lynches!
What are you eating, Lynch number 3?
An owl skull full of creamed corn!
Lovely!
Delectable!
Luminous!
Quick question. We've met before, haven't we?
I do not understand what you're saying exactly, but I feel it to be true.
I have your disease in me.
Hello!
A fourth Lynch!
Ludicrous!
Libidinous!
We're lousy with Lynches. Lynch number 4, where are you going in your Lambo?
I bees being driving to lunch at Langer's, Los Angeles, Delicatessen.
Excellent. We're having lunch. Would you like to link up with us Lynches?
I bees being in love with a Lynch lunch legion, but I'm lacking lunch and liquids.
Wood is a blessing to mankind, and so are bees. Have some of my login bees.
I bees being believing I'd like a banquet of bees.
Legitimately luscious.
Lactation!
I bees being bee eaten.
Gentlemen, you're blocking Mulholland Drive. Please disperse.
Officer, this League of Lynches is lunching in Lambos on Mulholland, Los Angeles.
Leukemia!
You're backing up traffic on a busy intersection, gentlemen. It also looks like you're filming a show, and there's no way you have a license to shoot here. Go somewhere else, or I'm shutting you down and taking you to jail.
You remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua.
Okay, that's it. Shut off that recorder.
Wait, what year is this?
This has been a David Lynch podcast production.
It's tickle time, New Orleans, so shut the fuck up and get ready to get assaulted with laughter. Our laughter. Deal with it, you fucking chumps, because coming this weekend and this weekend only to the Big Easy Comedy Condo, it's the first annual National Comedians of Comedy Fest. We've scoured the nation for any performers that don't know about us or our history, and we've empowered them by giving them time on our stage. featuring Barry, the bedtime biscuit. There's no point in being woke because it's bedtime when the biscuit gets on stage. And headlining, the self-proclaimed president of comedy, Clark Weaver. That's right, New Orleans. Clark just wrapped up his virtually virtuousness viral tour, and he's ready to do what he does best, perform for us. Seats are still available, but we'll rip them out and make it standing room only if we need to, so get your tickets now, bitch, at www.bigeasycomedycondo.com/National Comedians of Comedy Fest. That's the National Comedians of Comedy Fest, hosted by some guy you know who sucked a dog's dick at a party because he thought it was funny. Happening this weekend only in the heart of the Sin City at the Big Easy Comedy Condo that my dad paid for. These are the hottest and most complacent acts in America. We can fucking promise you that at the Big Easy Comedy Condo, National Comedians of Comedy Fest, where the only thing missing other than standards is you.
Good day, Pud Nation. You're listening to Pud Warm Ones, the radio interview show with warm questions and even warmer beers. I'm your host and founder of Pud Beer, Dennis Arthur Pud. And today, I'm joined by a local comedy personality and club host, the man who only identifies himself as, says here, some guy you know who sucked a dog's dick at a party because he thought it was funny. Welcome, Mr. Some Guy.
Thanks for having me, Dennis.
That's Mr. Pud to you, son.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Pud.
Right, and you're here to promote
our upcoming festival that's packed with local performers desperate for credentials at the only full-time comedy venue in New Orleans.
Well, ain't that something? All right, Mr. Some Guy, you know the rules. I'm going to ask you some heavy-hitting interview-type questions that take a deep dive into not only your career, but also your quality of character, all while we drink some progressively warmer Pud beers. And if you make it to the end by drinking all three of my questions and answering to all three of my beers, then I'll let you promote and plug your little comedy thing there. Got it?
We'll take any promotion we can get. So yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Bring out the first beer.
Oh, wow. I can feel the heat.
First up, we have Pud's Lukewarm Lager. The Lukewarm Lager celebrates the tradition of our brewery going back to 2019. Authentically and painstakingly crafted, it's a full-flavored and exceptionally well-balanced brew made with just barley, hops, 100% pure Brita filtered tap water, and yeast. The Lukewarm Lager is the neighborhood beer of New Orleans. If it was the middle of summer and that neighborhood had very little shade or green space. It's only a 2 on the patented Pud Warmometer, but still drinkable. Bottoms up, Buttercup. Fuck. That's a good beer.
Oh, that's not too warm.
All right, so question number 1. That's quite the name you've made for yourself here in town. You mind me asking if you actually sucked a dog's dick?
Well, there's no such thing as bad PR, am I right?
Well, unfortunately, you won't be getting any PR here unless you answer all the questions and drink all the beers.
Well then, okay. This stage name generates a lot of controversy, and that creates a buzz that I've learned to harness to our venue's benefit. The whole did he or didn't he angle always keeps the marks coming back for more. However, my former lawyer said I really shouldn't explain myself any further to avoid any legal repercussions.
Right. Okay, then. Bring on the second beer. Next up, we got Pud Heat Ale. Heat Ale is a crisp, refreshing uptown-style wheat ale named for its beautiful golden color and near-boiling heat. Crafted from lightly kilned Pilsner malt combined with the white wheat and a touch of malted oaks, brewed at room temperature, it's a smooth and incredibly balanced brew that shows zesty, sweet aromas and hints of spicy coriander. Enjoy it anytime, especially on those rare cold winter evenings. And I should also note that the Pud Heat Ale comes in at a 5 on the Warmometer. Time to kick 'em back, kid. Oh, fuck. That shit slaps. So, question 2. What got you into comedy?
Whew. Well, that's an easy one. Thank God. But yeah, I got into comedy for the low-stakes attention and that sense of power it gives me. Yep. Don't know if it's because my parents never gave me enough attention as a child, or if I got addicted to attention in my formative years, or some combination of both. But yeah, I found that comedy, specifically improv and stand-up, was a pretty low-stakes path to the sense of control one can only get off the near constant amount of attention that I so desperately seek.
Well, as a fellow business owner, that makes sense to me. But unfortunately, there's one last thing that stands in the way between you and slightly more attention. All right, Mr. Some Guy, we're at the last and warmest beer. Are you ready?
Well, I can't imagine it gets much worse, so sure.
Ha! Nice one. Bring out the heat, boys.
Oh my God. Are those blowtorches?
It's tradition around here to heat up our last beers to beyond boiling. It's on the table, but you don't have to if you don't want to, chicken.
No. I'll do it if other people did it.
Perfect. Last up here we have Pud Lava IPA. It's so warm it'll make the news, and I can fucking guarantee that. Pud Lava IPA is our shout out to the fucking sun. We craft this big 27% ABV beauty to showcase Centennial and Cascade hops. Then we dry hop it with Mosaic and Motica on the side of a fucking volcano. It's fruity and citrusy on the palate with a nice but very dry finish. Pud Lava is so warm, in fact, that it breaks the fucking warm-a-meter scale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right. Now light up, bitch. Fuck! That is a real man's beer.
Jesus Christ! It tastes like a dog's dick.
Funny you say that, Some Guy, because it leads me to my final question.
Great, because I need to wash this canine cock taste out of my mouth.
Final question. Why did you really suck that dog's dick at that party?
Well, like it says in my stage name, because I thought it was funny.
I really don't see how anyone, especially someone who claims to work in comedy, would think that's funny. Hell, even just saying it makes me feel questionable. So why don't you tell the people of Pudtopia why you really sucked that dog's dick, you little fucking creep?
I already said my former lawyer said I shouldn't talk about that.
Right. Well then, no answer, no promo.
No, seriously. They said I could lose the comedy condo if I talked about it. I wouldn't have anything to promote if I did.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to keep secrets, then I'm keeping the airtime.
So I drank that shitty beer for nothing. What the fuck, dude?
Pud security team, get him out of here.
Screw this! Everyone, be sure to check out the National Comedians of Comedy Fest.
Cut his mic. Well, unfortunately, that comedy fellow with a show and venue that we shall not promote failed to answer the last question. Or finish his delicious Pud beer, apparently. Oh well, more for me. Look. Fuck! This Pud Lava IPA kicks like a fucking mule set on fire. I'm definitely bringing some of these to the upcoming WRYAT beach party in Biloxi. Woo! Well, Pud Nation, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Dennis Arthur Pud, and this has been Pud Warm Ones. See you next time, Pudheads.
This has been WRYAT New Orleans Radio. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.